A toast to our new college grad who fills us with so much joy, almost as much as when we're in our RV. Oh, the world is your oyster, kiddo, and ours too. Now that we're covered with Progressive, Dad and I can hop in our RV anytime we want. Might even splurge on a retractable awning. Ooh, look out! Sorry, what was I talking about?
Protect your loved one with an RV policy from Progressive. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you could save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
With one of the best savings rates in America, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Slash to be in your band.
Next up for lead guitar. You're in.
Cool. Yep, even easier than that. And with no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're now on Red Circle as well as Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and the 5 Reason YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Also, check out 5reasonsports.com. Spell that one out. We do not have a paywall. And check out the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We always mention our betting partner and our fantasy partner. Let me start with the betting partner here first. Better Edge, that's with an O, betteredge.com. Use the code 5RSN, get $20 to play. This is legal in 44 states, including the state of Florida. So you will get your money, and you're betting against others there who are using the product. So you're not betting against a book. That's why it's legal. That's also why you can find the line you want. So it's totally new type of betting. It's social betting. Go to betteredge.com. Use the code 5RSN. We always mention our sponsor Prize Picks. Use the code 5. That's where you get your props up, down. Say if you're going to go over or under. You can play any kind of sport there. You can pair players together from different sports, athletes together from different sports, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players together. Go to prizepicks.com or the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Make sure you use the code 5, F-I-V-E, and get your free money up to $100. And now, tonight's episode.
Down the Biscayne. Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the flow playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick in the 5 Reasons Sports. I got Greg Sylvander. You can follow me at Greg Sylvander. Just the two of us tonight. And look, the Miami Heat are coming off a win to kind of salvage this homestand so far. They beat the Atlanta Hawks. They have another game against the Hawks coming up here, and then they have 2 against Cleveland. So one team that was just behind them and another team that is ahead of them. The Heat are trying to get out of the play-in. The Nets are making it a little bit challenging right now. And, of course, the Knicks have kind of lost the Heat now at this stage where they're going to be very difficult to catch. So the Heat are playing better at times. We saw it in the second half against the Knicks. We saw them play close to a complete game against Atlanta, even though they fell apart a little bit and had to right themselves. We saw some rotation changes, Greg. We saw less no Bam, no Jimmy minutes with Tyler Hero anchoring that second unit. He got away from that a little bit. Eric Spoelstra did. We only saw, I think, 3 of those minutes, and Jimmy anchored the second unit a little bit. I thought Jimmy played well in his minutes. Eric Spoelstra said he's essentially acknowledged in his question to me, he's trying to keep his minutes down if he can. Going forward, he's been playing about 33 of late instead of his usual kind of 35 to 36. But we're going to talk today about the additions. The 2 players that they added, Kevin Love and Cody Zeller, have now played 6 games with the Heat. The win-loss results have not been good, but both guys have offered things in different situations to the Heat. And Cody Zeller actually just came off his best game where he and Caleb Martin stabilized the bench in that game. But let's start with Kevin Love, Greg. The expectation level was that, and we did a bunch of podcasts on this, he was going to come in, he was going to provide some shooting, he was going to provide some rebounding. He was likely going to start. We said that because that was likely a promise that the Heat made. He started every game. He has played 22, 26, 21, 24, 23, and this is interesting, 18 minutes. So this was his lowest minute game. Caleb Martin soaked up a lot of those minutes from Kevin Love and played very well. Love has scored 0, 13, 8, 9, 9, and 6. His rebounding has been 8, 13, 5, 5, 8, and 5. His shooting percentage, though, has been not great. He is 2 of 7 in the last game. He actually shot 3 of 6 and 3 of 5. The two previous, he was 3 of 8, 4 of 11, 0 of 4 in his first 6. First thing, give him a grade so far for how he's played.
I mean, he's a solid C, I would say, C minus, even 26% in the 6 games since he arrived in Miami from downtown is not what you were thinking you're getting. So I think he looks a lot more like the Kevin Love that we saw in Cleveland, not Kevin Love of last year. So that is a development. And I think that honestly, on all of our Kevin Love shows, when they acquired him, we tried to temper expectations in terms of what he could come in and change and things like that. But I think he'll remain a fixture within the lineup. I do think that the good part of this is Cody Zeller appears to be a functional big man. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him stick because he's the type of player that I think that they can count on. He's reliable in that way. And he's way more mobile than I expected too. So those are interesting trends to watch in terms of minutes, because I feel like Zeller and Love may end up playing pretty similar average minutes per game when it's all said and done, maybe as the lineup and the rotation really shrinks down. So that'll be an interesting thing to just see how they use the two of them. But Zeller is the surprise here because I think everyone was so focused on Kevin Love.
Yeah, everyone was focused on Kevin Love, and the reason obviously is pedigree. And Cody Zeller was out there all season for anybody to take. Nobody did. He has been better than expected. He has stabilized that backup center position. He's given them more than Orlando Robinson was giving them, even though I liked what Orlando Robinson did to kind of stabilize after Dwayne Dedmon kind of torched the place for the games that he played this season. Zeller has been good, and it's funny. People on Twitter are kind of lamenting the fact that it seems like Jimmy Butler and Cody Zeller have more chemistry in 6 games than Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo have in 4 years. I don't know if that's quite fair, but we've talked a lot about the chemistry issues between Jimmy and Bam, although I've seen some good stuff lately, actually. A lot of it Bam feeding Jimmy. But it does seem like Jimmy and Cody Zeller play well together. Jimmy plays well with guys who are in the right spot. I noticed that. Like, if a guy knows how to play, has reasonably high basketball IQ, Jimmy's fine with a guy. That's on the court. And Zeller has been good in that respect. And I agree with you. He has a chance to stick. I mean, as a minimum guy next year, why not? He sets screens. He's not a shooter, obviously, but he rebounds. He gives effort, at least, athletically on the defensive end. And he's been fine. I think, though, we were talking about getting a major boost from Kevin Love. And I don't think it's going to happen, Greg. Like, that's the conclusion I've come to after 6 games. I know there will be more integration here. He will shoot better at times than he has shot. The rebounding, he does go for rebounds. He seems to be taking some of Bam's rebounds away, which is not the worst thing in the world. But we're also seeing some of the things that I was kind of warned about. The foot speed is not there at this stage. At all. Defensively, if he gets switched out on somebody, it's a problem. And I think what we've seen is, Caleb Martin really struggled to kind of go back to his old role until the last 2 games. And now it's like, okay, I want that guy on the floor more often, right? Like, there's an athleticism edge that Caleb gives you when he's playing at his highest possible level. And there's a comfort level that Bam has with him. And it's one of those things, like, we spent the entire season saying, okay, Caleb is playing out of position. Caleb shouldn't be the starting 4. Now let's get him on the court more as a 4. With Bam.
Yeah. But,
right?
I think that, to your point, though, where this would be even better if Kevin Love was playing better is that what you're seeing from Caleb off the bench, and Bam even hinted at this, hinted that Caleb is playing more free coming off the bench. And I think that there is some value in him kind of getting back to his more hybrid role where he's not exclusively guarding up all the time. So that's what the unfortunate part is, because to your point, Caleb initially it looked like he wasn't adapting well. And then finally it's starting to come around. And so now I don't know how much you want to mess with that. And to your point, really far, when you first started this whole episode, if Kevin Love's going to remain a starter because that was kind of the agreed upon role that he'd get when he got here, that's going to be an interesting thing to see play out, because I think as the rotation shrinks and they emphasize defense, it may turn into a situation where a game on the road in the playoffs or in a play-in scenario where they end up shrinking him out almost.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we talked so much about what they needed the whole year, and they may end up playing the same rotation that they were going to play originally. So it wouldn't stun me at all, because Brady's made this point. Like, the offense, although the offense looked much better in the game against Atlanta, the offense, like, there's only so much you can do. There really is. But defensively, we know what they can be. And inserting guys who are not good defenders undermines what you were good at all year. And we saw even the other night against the Knicks, the comeback was with Caleb and Oladipo as the other two with their quote-unquote big three. So, it's like Eric's always going to go back to that eventually. And, he would play it even more if Oladipo could just shoot the ball better. But it does not look to me like Kevin Love is going to be more than a placeholder. I don't see it. And I think they were hoping to catch lightning in a bottle here. Obviously his high IQ could be helpful on the court, but honestly, like, Zeller does less damage to you because he's not as much of a liability defensively. So he doesn't offer some of what Love offers in terms of the spacing, but it wouldn't stun me if Zeller gets more minutes than Love. It's kind of what we're talking about, like in a big playoff game.
In certain matchups, absolutely. Particularly if they've got like let's just say in a perfect world, they are able to catch Brooklyn and they can get to 6 somehow. And then you're playing Philly and it's an Embiid series. Like, I'm more comfortable with Zeller on Embiid than I am Kevin Love. So, I mean, it would be interesting to see how they would balance that, in that kind of matchup. I think that there's other matchups where they may shelve both of those guys and just go completely small to really size down. But ultimately, I think that you're right. Kevin Love may end up remaining in the mix because that was what they kind of agreed upon, but it may be in this more limited role where you're talking 20 minutes instead of 28 or 30.
Well, they get in trouble sometimes when they try to get a guy here because they promised him something. Mike Bibby was the same way. And they got so far down the road there that then they couldn't turn back. And I will always say this, and I know people know I say this, LeBron wasn't their biggest problem in that finals. It was Bibby. But I know most people disagree with me on that. I think Dwayne still could have carried him to win in that series if Mike Bibby wasn't playing 27 minutes a game, shooting 22% from 3. All right, when we come back, I want to talk about a couple other things that came off of the last game and maybe what can be built upon. Before we do, you got a water leak? You don't know where it's coming from? You're dealing with water or mold damage in your home or business? Reach out to Michael, Robert, and the team over in Boca Raton at Water Cleanup of Florida, 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. WCUFL.com. That's WCUFL.com. Or call Robert and Michael on the cell phone. They will get right back to you. 954-579-0356. 954-579-0356. Water Cleanup of Florida, fully licensed, insured, and certified to provide the one-stop shopping that busy homeowners and business owners required. No need to bring in other contractors. They'll handle the entire project from start to finish. They got more than 70 plus 5-star reviews on Google. So reach out to them, WCUFL.com. 954-579-0356. Everybody on Twitter knows this now. When we say this, if you've got the schmutz,
they got the guts.
You can't host movie night on your phone's hotspot. It's time for real home internet on the Xfinity 10G network. The future starts now. New customers can get 200 megabit Xfinity internet and Xfinity mobile for just $50 a month for 2 years during our Xfinity 10G network launch celebration, now through March 21st. Go to Xfinity.com/10G to learn more. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary. Xfinity mobile requires Xfinity internet service. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of data usage. Data thresholds may vary.
And now a special motorcycle weather report from Progressive. And today's forecast, expect a steady breeze with a 100% chance of twisting down those country back roads gleefully on your motorcycle. Some will want you, others will want to be you, and animals everywhere will yearn for opposable thumbs just to work that throttle like you do. Oh, nature's cruel design. That's your forecast. Back to you. This has been a special motorcycle weather report from Progressive, where every day's a beautiful day to ride with 24/7 roadside assistance from America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Roadside assistance subject to policy terms and limits and may require comprehensive coverage.
I couldn't get Alex to say it the other day. Speaking of guts, let's see what they can build on. I'm just going to do rapid fire with you on this, okay? Because there were some things that came out of the Atlanta game that were positive. By the way, what happened to John Collins? He destroyed my prize picks. Let's get to a couple of things that looked better in that game. Jimmy anchoring the second unit looked good to me. Yes. Continue it, build on it.
Absolutely. I think also what they did to both guards, both Atlanta guards, DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, that's another part to build upon. And I know you're coming back at me rapid fire, but I think that is a huge element of this moving forward. And I do think that instead of maybe Hero with the bench, a little bit more of Jimmy with those units, maybe the stabilizing factor.
Bam broke out a little bit after really playing poorly since the All-Star break. Sustainable?
Well, I'm going to say sustainable.
Yeah,
it's all up from here. But truthfully, I think that this is a moment where if he does pivot from where he was playing post All-Star break and then builds on this, that'll be yet another hurdle that he gets over when we talk about him just continuing to improve as a player. So something to watch for as the season closes.
Inverted pick and rolls with Hero and Bam, which is something that Brady touched on a lot. I like it. Tyler's a surprisingly good screener, actually. He doesn't get a lot of credit for that. That's something we think they can go to more often now, right? Like they need to have more variety.
Yes, they should do it as much as possible, I think, because they need to just mix things up. I think that there's other guys that can do it as well with Bam, but particularly Tyler, Jimmy, those are the two guys that I think they can do some really interesting stuff there to create just offense, because those are the threats, right? Like everybody else on the roster, people aren't looking at as real threats.
And the last one here, Max played less. Gabe's still starting. Gabe went through a stretch where he shot about 20% over 3 games or 2.5 games, and then he made a couple shots, looked a little bit better. How do you feel about both of them right now?
Not great. I think that, this is ultimately where you would think Kyle Lowry could help you, but I just don't know that that's going to be a reality. I think that Gabe has a much better chance of staying in the rotation because there are certain numbers that would, and truthfully, certain matchups where he's thrived defensively, but then there's been other moments where obviously there's been some slippage. So I would expect Gabe to stay in the lineup. I think if they emphasize defense, Max has a real chance of getting squeezed out as well here.
Yeah, well, if he's shooting 31% from 3, it's hard to justify it. It just is. All right, we will be back. All of us will be at the game. Well, not all of us, but me, Alex, and Brady will be at the game against Atlanta, and then 2 against Cleveland. Check us out on playback. We had a good crowd on there last night. Had a lot of fun there. Again, that's where you can see the stream and listen to us talk. Thanks to our sponsors, Water Cleanup of Florida. You got the Schmutz. They got the guts. And also, of course, Prize Picks. Use code 5, Better Edge. Use code 5RSN. Have a good night, everybody. Or day. And now a little bonus thing for this episode. Got a chance to speak to Michael McCullough, the Heat vice president, about what the Miami Heat will do to honor Udonis Haslem, who has announced that this, his 20th season, will be his last. All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor, and a special feature today, as we are often joined by our friend over in the Miami Heat front office, Michael McCullough, handles marketing and all things related to that with the Miami Heat. And what we want to talk about today is somebody, obviously, that we admire here on the podcast, and I covered his first summer league with the Heat. So, from the, some high school games too, but really from a professional level, his first summer league, obviously I've gotten to know Udonis really well over the 20 years. I asked him the other day, he was supposed to come on the podcast with us over All-Star break, and we just didn't connect. But I said to him the other day, I said, if you come on, I'm going to make you name every teammate you've ever had. And then I didn't hear from him again. Because he just, I
wonder why.
There are too many. I want to ask if anybody quite compared to the comedy of Michael Beasley during his time. I was going to just get into all kinds of different things with him here on the podcast, so that didn't end up happening. But he is going to be celebrated by the Miami Heat. This, of course, is his last season, his 20th season. And Udonis, I talked to him the other day about what's next. He seems to have 6,000 things that he wants to do. So you guys wanted to honor him in the moment, get into a little bit of background here about this event and what it's going to consist of.
Thanks, Ethan. And I'm glad you said in the moment, because that's really what this is. This is an effort for us at the Heat organization, and in particular the marketing department, to really show our thanks and appreciation for what Udonis has meant to the organization, to our fan base, and really to us. You know, he's been here for 20 years. He's been great with us, and we really feel like he is deserving of as many days of recognition as we can provide. But these 4 days of 40 that we have coming up, you know, March 23rd through 26th, it's just like the first step in us recognizing what Udonis has meant to the organization. And, you know, this is not the degree of finality of a jersey retirement. This is not the degree of finality and seriousness of a final home game that's coming up on April 9th. But this is an opportunity for us to create a lot of really cool content around Udonis, to allow folks to show some appreciation themselves for Udonis, and do some things in the building and in the arena and at our family festival event that allow us to show our appreciation for Udonis while he's still in uniform, as opposed to waiting until later.
It's funny because when Udonis was asked about all this stuff, you know, at first, I don't want anything about me and all that. Did you have to fight him at all on this? And if you did, how did you survive?
Well, first of all, I'm not fighting Udonis. You can use that term, did I fight Udonis? And you can stop right there and I could just say no about anything about fighting and Udonis. But he's aware of what we want to do. And we need to be always sensitive to Udonis or any other player. You know, so, you know, this activity that we have coming up, these 4 days of 40, you know, Udonis really doesn't have to do anything. He can focus on his role with the team. You know, the team is in a playoff hunt, as we always are. And, you know, we're not trying to get Udonis to kind of do anything or react to anything. This is all very outward bound and forward facing. And so Udonis doesn't have to do anything here. And but he is aware, and, you know, hopefully he catches the vibe of what we're trying to do for him on behalf of the fans.
All right, so let's go through it, Michael, because you mentioned it's 4 days. So it's a Thursday, the 23rd of March through Sunday, March 26th. Start with the 23rd. What's going on Thursday?
All right, so on the 23rd, which is the first day of 4 days of 40, there's going to be a really cool amount of content that's going to be taking place on our social. And I'm not going to give anything away, but it's definitely days that you're going to want to tune in to Heat social media. We have some really killer content. We've got some content over the course of the 4 days that's going to create some chatter on social media, and that's what we want to do. So day one is heavily focused on us generating content that allows us and our fans to talk about Udonis. Day two, the 24th, is really cool. Court Culture, our in-house retail line, will be dropping 4 brand new Udonis retail items. They're all T-shirts. They all are representative of who Udonis is. And we will be making that merchandise available on 3/24. On March 25th, Friday, the game against Brooklyn, we will have some Udonis-focused video activities in the game. But the coolest thing about that game is going to be the unveiling of this new takeover, if you will, of Section 305 in our arena. And what we're going to be doing with Section 305 is really transforming the look of that section and dedicating it to Udonis, from starting out on the concourse at Section 305 and moving into the seating area. And it just so happens that where that section is located in the arena gives us a really cool opportunity to create graphics and whatnot. So I'm excited about what that's going to look like. And then on 3/26, which is our family festival event, there will be a number of Udonis-focused kind of activities and activations that the guests at the family festival will be able to participate in. So we got 4 really cool days of activity that we've created. And what we hope at the end of these 4 days is that our fan base is really, again, caught the vision of what Udonis has meant to the organization, but not in the way that says this is, you know, the finality of what you'll see when we bring his jersey to the rafters next season.
All right, well, it sounds like a great 4-day weekend here. I will say that I'm a little surprised you went with 305 night on Saturday, because as I tell, or Section 305, because as I tell Udonis all the time, does not live in 305. Southwest Ranches is not 305. It's in the farmland way out west in the great county that I live in, Broward County. But that's okay. I guess there was no Section 954, Michael, so we had to go with 305.
There is no 954, and I think if you cut Udonis, his blood is 305 red, so I don't think he cares where he lives. He gave himself that moniker, Mr. 305, and we're not going to argue with it. We're just going to run with it.
All right, when I run into him at the Home Depot in Pembroke Pines, I'll be sure to remind him that his blood runs 305. Michael, we appreciate it. Thanks again for the time. As always, check out the 4 days of 40, Thursday through Sunday, March 23rd to March 26th. I have to bring my daughter because she has 3 signed Udonis jerseys over the years as she's gotten older. So she'll ask for it herself this time. She's past the point where I have any say so in this. Michael, thank you very much.
You got it, Ethan. Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Regional Sports Network.